Hello and welcome. My name is Gina Ligon and I'm from the Boone County Cooperative Extension Service, and I am your Senior Program Assistant for Horticulture. And today we are continuing our Boone County Master Gardener virtual garden tour. And today we are here with Dave, and he is going to explain his landscape and his dry creek bed to us. So Dave, tell me how you got your passion for gardening.
I think there are two things. One is just loving to be outdoors after I retired from corporate life. I just like projects, being out, being active. And the other was purchasing this property that had been neglected for several years from the prior owner and having some need for care and attention. So you put those two together, and the Master Gardener program was a really good opportunity to learn.
Awesome. So why did you feel the need for a dry creek or runoff in this area?
Well, it was interesting when we bought the place. It had been empty a few years, and the erosion was very, very severe. There was just 3 downspouts from the home, and they stopped very short, so it wasn't carrying the water far enough away. And then up here was runoff from driveways. So the erosion factor had just gotten really severe, so it was ugly. It was washed in the gullies from here all the way down to the end of the property. It was pretty severe. So the first step we had to do is decide how we were going to recover the land and the soil and where we were going to stabilize it. The very first place I started was actually here. This was all completely washed out. As I said, gullies all the way down to the bottom, runoff from the driveway as well as the downspout. So I hired some very energetic young people who dug trenches. We ran tile all the way down through the end so that all the water properly drains out. And then I had to stabilize this. So my first adventure, you might say, in stabilizing the hillside didn't quite work. I started with the row of stones here, and it actually was so much gravity and weight from water, I had to add a second row, and then ultimately add a little concrete to stabilize it. So the first step is really stabilizing the hillside to minimize the erosion. So as you go down gradually and look at the whole project, you can just envision how steeply it drops. When in the back you look at the deck behind us and the drop all the way down there. So it's a pretty severe drop. And when we designed this, we had to consider how much curvage we wanted into the dry creek. And that may sound like a minor issue, but it was the amount of gravel you would need and how fast or slow it would restrict the flow of water. So we pretty much just followed what the original major gully was and filled that in. And that gave us the first step of stability, and it gave us kind of a scenic element. So then, this was actually in the second summer that I was here, I decided, well, we've now got the erosion somewhat stabilized. The water's going to repel itself by gravity down into the woods. So how can we kind of dress it up and give it a little bit of appeal? So what you see here is virtually all shared, donated, or transplants from other places and other parts of the house. Maybe there's 1 or 2 things that I actually bought. But with other landscaped areas in my property, other people saying, hey, I've got this available. We just kind of traded favors, so to speak, and we got everything just from various transplants. What I wanted to do is get something that could tolerate both shade and sun. As I mentioned in the morning, this is very, very shady up until probably midday, and then it gets very hot. So I was trying to find something that would be relatively carefree. I do water it quite a bit, and now it's the point where you have a few weed elements you have to take care of, and then generally mulching with the bark, and it's relatively painless to take care of. I love the trend of flowering too. The daisies are coming out now that it's midsummer, so that gives you a little bit of a bright yellow. And I'm starting to, you'll see a few white stakes throughout. Those are seedlings that are starting by themselves. So I'm going to wait and see what happens. I may keep the trees, or I may pull them out, but right now I'm just letting them grow naturally and then prune and adjust or purge as necessary. I did like the grasses. I think that's very good, particularly at the end of the dry creek. You know, if there is a little bit of excess runoff, that gives a little bit of strength there and a little bit of absorbency. Just beyond the grasses, there are forsythia. So those were from a friend say, I've got these forsythia bushes are overgrowing, you want to come pluck some out? So I did. They came from just little stems. And what I like about that, in the spring, then you have some bright yellow flowers. And so I've tried to select items that give a little bit of color throughout the summer, so you have a little bit of variety.